And tomorrow night, 5 o'clock, Oklahoma State at the Farrell Center, joined by Alvin Brooks III, Baylor men's basketball on 365 Sports. I sent you a text, Coach Peterson, and also John Jacobs after Wednesday against West Virginia. Can you try, Alvin, to explain what we kind of already know, but in coaches' terms, the battering ram, or as Craig called it, the gauntlet of the Big 12?
It's very, very hard to explain. I mean, it's night in and night out. It's a battle from tip to the final buzzer. And, every single detail matters. And, I think if, you think about your job or whatever you may do, like if you leave out a small detail, how everything can come crashing down on you if you're building a structure. And so every small details matter on the court, and we're just trying to get our guys to understand that because it's a one-possession game.
Alvin, during this interview, don't be distracted if you hear a whistle every 45 seconds. I wanted you to feel like you were back in West Virginia again. When I know that, the officiating varies from game to game, but is it tougher to assess what you were doing well or not in a game that is called that tight?
I think you just have to adjust. I think the great thing about it is most of our guys have been playing since they were kids. And, obviously, most of us have been players and we've coached a long time. And when you have 3 different officials every single game, you have to adjust to what the officials call. And so, our biggest thing is just overcome it. Whatever is being called, we got to adjust and overcome it.
Coach, I know you can't have an extended celebration by any means, but how nice was it just to get that first Big 12 win?
Oh, it was extremely nice. The Big 12 is, statistically and, just living it, it's the toughest league in the country year in and year out. And so to go, the first 3 games and, the last 2 before that where it was basically one-possession games, give or take a miss here or a turnover here or there, and we could easily be 3-1. But reality is we're 1-3. So in order to get that first one, it was a great win.
You're going to lose in this conference. There's no question. What you guys did and what at times Kansas has done is just exceptional. But you've lost twice at home. Tomorrow night is at home. The 2 losses at home were excruciating. Can you afford to lose 3 games at home in this conference?
I don't think not at all. I think, home is a place that you're comfortable at. And so I think we have to do a great job of protecting our house. And, we allowed 2 to get away from us. And I thought Coach Nunez did a great job of, explaining to our guys that, when you're at home, literally you don't allow anybody just to come in and just keep taking things without, it being a problem. And so we got to have that kind of mentality tomorrow.
You, outside of TCU and Kansas State, you've had those games this year, though, that you've won, that you've closed well in tight spots. You did it again on Wednesday night. Was Wednesday night maybe you guys remembering how to do that again? Because you do have a team that, because of injuries and whatever, has not completely played together as much as maybe you would have in another season.
Yeah, I think, we don't have even though we have some guys that have experience, they don't have Baylor experience. And so we are playing, quite a few guys without Baylor experience, extended minutes. And so it's going to be some growing pains, and I think we'll be better in the long run. But, we're finishing games with, guys that hadn't really had a lot of Baylor experience, and the more experience they get at the end of games, the better we'll be.
You kind of have, and we saw a little bit of it with the football team, you have the older experienced players who have been through it all, and then they had a lot of youngins that hadn't played very much, and not a lot in between. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, we do. You think about it, the guys that played, a lot of minutes in the previous years are really, Adam, Flo, they were starters last year, and LJ Cryer, played a lot, but LJ was hurt and missed majority of the year last year. And then, after that, you have Dale Bunner that played, late when guys were injured. After that, we don't really have a lot of guys that have that Baylor experience. And so we're going through a lot of teaching on, what it takes in this scheme and what it takes in that scheme. And, it's a lot of teaching, and especially when you're in the best league in the conference, you don't have a chance to teach and, against opponents that's not as difficult. So it's definitely a learning lesson for us moving forward every game.
You guys have a lot of good scores, and you have guys who can play defense, I know, and that's been your signature for the last few years is the defense that Baylor has played. Is part of that because you had this attitude on defense where if a guy was 0 for 5 in the first half, as long as the guy he was guarding was 0 for 5, then everything's fine. Is part of that experience learning that, 0 for 5s happen as long as you can create one on the other end?
Yeah, I think that's something that, we've been trying to figure out. Defense is, you have to be connected as a unit on defense. And, I think that's something that we're growing as right now. We're nowhere close to where we will be. And I think that it's a mindset and an effort. And, I just think our defense is totally different than a lot of different defenses. And so you got to get used to the rotation, and you have to communicate. And, I think that's something that we're getting better at every day, but we're definitely not there yet.
So what's it like to not have a lot of time really to work on this? Because you play a game, then you have an off day, and then you have a practice, and then you have a game. Is it almost – it's not impossible. You guys have done this before, but how difficult is it to do all this on the fly once the season begins?
It's very difficult, and so that's something that we just tell our guys, it's more than one way to learn. And so you have to learn through film, because physically we can't do everything on the court every single day, and those guys perform at a high level. Just physically, it's impossible. So because of that, the more that they can watch the games themselves, and the more extra, film sessions they can get with us, and then obviously the film sessions as a team, those film sessions and just paying attention, even when you're on the sideline, are very, very important, because the more that you can learn from somebody else's mistakes, the better we're going to be.
So Keyonte had a monster night, obviously, offensively, and he is also trying to become even more dual threat on the defensive end. Can you kind of give us an idea? You knew how talented he was. Everyone did. He can absolutely fill it up. How is he now as far as becoming a full throttle, both sides of the court player?
He's a sponge. And so one thing about him that I love is the fact that he's coachable. And so anything that you talk to him about or that you show him, he's able to see it on film and execute it on the court right away. And, no matter what age you are, that's a gift for him to have that. And he's taken a lot of pride in the defensive end, and he's taken a lot of pride in getting better every single day. And, we're just thankful that he has that kind of spirit.
It seemed to me watching the other night, while he's having this scoring opus of his career night so far, that he's very much also a student of the game. He's an excellent passer, which sometimes in the scouting report on True Freshman you don't hear that right away, but he's clearly a fantastic passer. And every I saw him talking to the officials, what did he do wrong? He wants to kind of soak it all in, every little drop of basketball, doesn't he?
He does. He's definitely different. It's a lot of people that's in his ear, and, it's a lot of people that, I'm sure it's a lot of people that's trying to tell him what to do. But one thing I love about him is he listens, and, he knows he doesn't have all the answers, and he's always seeking the answers, and he's always seeking to do things the right way.
Alvin,
and I think that's going to take him a long, long way.
I'm sorry. What's it like, though, when you are facing 0-3 for a program that has been so successful? How hard is it going back into work the next morning? Or do you – your life's more important than winning basketball games, and that's kind of what Baylor's about as far as men's basketball. What's it like during that grind as far as with you, the coaching staff, and also Coach Drew?
Not a lot of sleep, I tell you. But, I think Coach Drew does a great job of resetting. Obviously, after a loss that the rest of that day, I could only speak for myself, but I struggle. personally, and I try to look at myself in the mirror, like, what could I have done as an associate head coach to help our program? Like, is it a defensive call that I could have called, or a substitution that I could have helped us talk about, or whatever it may be? I always look at myself, and then, to be honest, I watched every single defensive possession from conference, every possession more than once, just to see, okay, our defense is not where it needs to be. What can we tweak a little bit to make our defense better? And I know every staff member kind of did the same in different aspects to help us. And so it's a lot of film, a lot of communicating with one another. And, we all have belief in each other. We all know that we're all elite at what we do. And we just got to figure it out.
Was Saturday as emotional for you as it was for Coach Tang and Coach Drew?
Oh, yeah. Coach Tang is the reason I'm at Baylor, to be honest. If it wasn't for Coach Tang, I would not be at Baylor. And he's kind of like a uncle to me. I mean, Coach Tang, he came to my wedding, and this when I was, heading to K-State. I mean, that's how much I feel about him. Him and his wife, Ray, were invited to my wife and our wedding. So they're a big part of our family. His wife is close to my wife, and, our kids love their kids. And so it was tough.
Thanks for your time. Enjoy getting some sleep tonight, and then also see you tomorrow at the Farrell Center. Huge game to try to get a home win and a Big 12 win. Any of them are good against Oklahoma State. We appreciate your time, Alvin, as always.
All right, thank y'all.
You too. Alvin Brooks III, Baylor Associate Men's Basketball Coach, on the challenges of